Ooh, we're here! Full release for Dagon, an interactive horror story. What's up, everyone? My name is Swift Edge, and we are back with some more Lovecraftian horror. I don't know why I'm so into it. I'm just so in love with the Lovecraftian horror. It's so wild and out there. It's so different from what all the other, I can't even talk, man. There's so many games that I've played, but there's just something about the horror of Lovecraft. It's just the unknown cosmic side of it that just makes me go, I'm in. And we're not gonna talk anymore, because, you know, we played the demo. If you haven't watched that, no point watching it now, because we're gonna play the full game. One thing I will point out, though, is that the developer did release DLC. Now, we will get to those at some point. Don't you worry about that. We're gonna get to that. But right now, yes, Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Some of the trivia is hidden, or to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the elder sign. Ooh, okay. I like how it's a little branch. It's so cool. You can also access all the found facts later. They will be available in the main menu. All right, cool. So I know there was stuff there. I can't really look around behind me at the moment. I'm kind of focusing, so I guess focusing is just zooming in with the right mouse button. Oh, right there. Lovecraft's letters. As to letters, my case is peculiar. I write such things exactly as easily and as rapidly as I would utter the same topics in conversation. Indeed, epistolary expression is with me largely replacing conversation. As my condition of nervous prostration becomes more and more acute, I cannot bear to talk much now, and am becoming as silent as the spectator himself. My loquacity extends itself on paper. You are giving me such difficult words right now that I have trouble just speaking at times when recording, and you're giving me these long, difficult words. Throughout his life, Lovecraft penned around 100,000 letters to his friends and fans, out of which about 10% survive to this day. Wow. But his tendency to endless correspondence was a relatively late growth. In youth, I scarcely did any letter writing. Thanking anybody for a present was so much of an ordeal that I would rather have written a 250-line pastoral or 20-page treatise on the rings of Saturn. Huh. I just send a text nowadays saying thanks. Sorry. Selected letters 1929 to 1931, H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft would often skip meals. See, I can't even read. Would often skip meals to afford postage. That's dedication. Collections of his correspondences have been published in various books, and selected letters can be found online. Some readers consider them his most important legacy. That's pretty cool. Learning some interesting factoids.
Endless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate.
Oh, that noise scared me. I didn't realize he was pulling out the chair.
Scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Yeah, because no one really believes certain things unless they see it for themselves. Morphine. Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War and World War I. It was also sold without restrictions until 1914. And there's a reason we have it restricted. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Friedrich Sertner, I don't think I said that right, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. Well, I mean, it does cause a lot of loopiness and can be kind of help to subsidize pain so you can actually sleep, so makes sense. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. Ooh. I mean, well, people are getting addicted to the fact that it was a painkiller. So, you know.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
And is there anything... Ooh, right here. Dagon was written around a month after the United States entered World War I. Lovecraft was actively interested in its course. He composed many poems in which he gave encouragement to soldiers and commented on the events unfolding in Europe. He tried to enlist in the army, which he mentions in one of the letters to Reinhard Kleiner. Some time ago, impressed by my entire uselessness in the world, I resolved to attempt enlistment despite my almost invalid condition. I argued that if I chose a regiment soon to depart for France, my sheer nervous force, which is not inconsiderable, might sustain me till a bullet or piece of shrapnel could more conclusively and effectively dispose of me. He felt that useless that he was like, I'm gonna go and join the army and just be taken out. Dude! But even though he passed the physical exam, his mother prevented him from going to the war. She has threatened to go to any lengths, legal or otherwise, if I do not reveal all the ills which unfit me for the army. I am Providence, the life and times of H.P. Lovecraft. S.D. Josh. Wow. His mother was just dedicated. They're like, nah, you're not doing this. Anything over here? Nope. Alright, so let's go over here. Jeez, that's loud in my ear.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
Oh, I can zoom in while he's talking.
So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
I see right there. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick raids who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on 27th July 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago, the Huns under their King Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. This refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the first Hague Conventions of 1899. Yeah, well, war? Because you just set out rules doesn't mean that everybody's going to follow them. So, yeah, unfortunately, not good. Not good at all. These are really interesting factoids. I love it.
Indeed was the discipline of our captors that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Not enough for what you're about to embark on and go through. Oh, I actually have to move now, huh? Wait, is there anything around here? Nope, I think it's just to move forward. Alright, so let's drop in the water and get lost at sea.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
Really?
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
Oh, jeez.
Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
So now you're just lost at sea! Good on you! Is there anything around here to investigate? No? Nothing? I guess we're gonna move forward. Wait, I didn't look at my lap.
The weather kept fair.
Messed up.
For uncounted days, I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Yeah, well, the land around you... probably not going to be good. Nothing in the sky. Alright, we're just gonna move. Whoa. What the heck? It's like did a quick twist.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
And this is where it kind of goes...
The change happened whilst I slept.
Sanity is being lost here. And that's where, again, people...
Details I shall never know.
And again, it's where it's the questioning of, did it actually happen? Or were you just imagining it all?
For my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
That's new? That wasn't in the... That's not all in the demo. It was just this and that, I think. I don't know how to feel about all this.
At last I awoke. It was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see. And in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
Yeah,
Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
Yeah, I'm a lot horrified, actually, because if you look, these things have what looks like crab or lobster-like legs, but then tentacles that would belong to maybe a squid or an octopus. I'm all kinds of messed up right here.
There was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core.
Oh yeah, I'm chilled to the very core too.
The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
Yeah, this.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity.
There's
There was
an octopus.
nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Yeah, that is dark sky. Oh no. That is all kinds of horrifying, dude. That is all kinds of horrifying. Am I missing out on anything? I don't think so. I don't see anything. I would have been kind of cool to put some kind of notification in the sky. Don't walk by it! Don't walk by it, you crazy man!
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
What is that over there?
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Sure, let's go with that.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Yeah, not a single bird. It's just nothing but dead fish and things that are horrible monstrosities. But there's nothing around for information, so I guess we are clear to move forward with this story.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
What is that?
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Seriously, what is that? I don't like how it's
That night
pulsating.
I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
I don't feel comfortable. I would not be able to sleep. I don't think I could sleep next to this. I can tell you right now, I would not be able to sleep next to that. Not at all. Okay, so no interesting
On the
factoids.
third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
Oh, really? You did now, did you?
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Okay. Great. Cool. Love it. Gonna go forward, I guess.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
This is where the demo cut out. And oh my gosh, what is all of this? Dude, this is so weird. Look at that. That's so weird. What are you? Actually, you kind of remind me of one of those aliens from... Oh my gosh, what is that? What is that one movie? Oh my gosh, I'm going to put it in the captions because I can't even describe it properly, what it actually is. I'm just going to put it like in a caption below if I can figure it out. If I can figure out what it is I'm thinking of. Oh, there's something normal here, a whale, but it's not really normal because... Where did you come from? There's no water near here. We're just going to be walking for the next like 10 minutes?
That night,
sweet
I
lord.
encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Uh-huh. Well, you know, it's called walking. The horrors of the ocean. The creator of the Cthulhu mythos and the fictional underwater city of R'lyeh was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure would make it uninhabitable. Today we know that the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. Yeah, that's why I don't trust it. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters, more than 26,000 feet below the ocean's surface, in never-ending darkness and at a hellishly crushing pressure. Hundreds of times stronger than those found at sea level. That's why I don't trust the ocean. I don't know what's all in there. Upon glancing at the modern photos of deep-sea creatures such as the anglerfish, the fangtooth, or the viperfish, and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. Yeah, because, I mean, they are weird looking when you really look at their pictures, man. When you really examine them, they're weird. They're cool, they're weird. They're cool, but they're weird. Because they have a glowing orb that baits their
By the fourth evening,
prey.
I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface.
Well, mountains don't look all that big until you get closer to them, so...
Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
Oh, I would not do that. I wouldn't trust that. I would not trust that.
I know not why my dreams were so wild that night.
Maybe it's because you're seeing very interesting things back there.
But ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more.
Yeah, we never really said if we had layers.
Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again.
Again, yeah, I could not sleep.
In the glow of the moon, I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
That is true. The sun beating down on you is going to make it a lot harder because you're going to get drained from... And the fact that there are no clouds, you're going to get drained of energy.
Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset.
But
Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Is this wise? Is it a wise thing to do? I don't think so. The loner. Contrary to popular opinion, Lovecraft was not an ever-frowning, eccentric, grumpy loner. He considered himself to be a person who appreciated humor. Moreover, he would often meet with friends in his apartment or at various cafes in Brooklyn and Manhattan. At times, his social life was so intensive his work would suffer for months. There was a point when he finally decided he needed to put an end to daily meetings and loitering in New York cafeterias and resorted to hiding at home and reading with the main room light turned off, pretending he wasn't there whenever a friend knocked on his door. He also had another method of deterring his guests, which involved greeting them in a bathrobe with an unmade bed visible in the background and piles of paper scattered across the floor. You know what? That'll do it. That'll do it. That makes people go like, oh, I'm so sorry. I've found you at a very inconveniencing time. I aspire to be that.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon.
Well,
Whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world. peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal
Nope.
night.
No, no,
Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost.
no, no, wouldn't even.
Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Yeah, because it's just a drop. It is just a freaking drop. Anything to investigate? Oh, I'm kind of waiting for a symbol to be in the shape of the stars in the sky, okay? I'm hopeful. So I guess we're...
Ridges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent.
No, it's not necessarily a drop. It's... yeah.
Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
That's a treacherous journey right there. You're braver than I would be, because I would just be like, no, turning back. Screw it. We're going home.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze,
The monolith.
I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Oh, stupid decision to go forward. Stupid decision. I just want you to know that. Anything over here? Nope. Okay, we're gonna move forward, I guess. Oh, don't go near stupid. Don't go, no. Just don't go near unknown
It was
things.
merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself.
It's not, no.
But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
What gave that away? The fact that it's just in a pit? It either rose up by itself or someone put it there. That's the two scariest options.
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
What was that? What was that? What
For
was that?
despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith.
Again, it was either put there or it just rose up out of nothing, and that's just equally terrifying.
Whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
Well, I'm examining. I see nothing but darkness, and we're walking towards it.
The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I like that. That's so cool.
Revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
Oh, it's so cool, the design and the look. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I can't believe I haven't even pointed out like how beautiful this game looks. This is so wonderful. Alright, let's go in closer.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books.
How do we get to the top to look?
Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like.
Yeah, see, you can tell what all these are from looking at it, but I'm pretty sure the pictures below it are going to be a lot weirder.
Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world.
Like that? That's a little terrifying, the center picture.
But whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain.
Yeah.
It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings at the Mountains of Madness, the Nameless City, journals and characters' notes, the Shadow of Time, the Haunter of the Dark, islands emerging from the ocean, the Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies, Migo and the Whisperer in the Darkness. It's also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also conclude in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details in order to not spoil that. Yeah, let's not. Let's hold on.
Plainly visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a doré.
Okay.
I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men. Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto.
The deep ones.
Or paying homage at some monolithic shrine, which appeared to be under the waves as well.
Notice how it's depicted to be under the waves. Under. The water has begun to evaporate and now it's just a little pool. It has changed drastically.
Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail.
Well, they look like they either have tails or tendrils protruding from their lower half.
For the mere remembrance makes me grow faint.
Yeah, that's called fear.
Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that in the story, that they're huge.
As I say, their grotesqueness and strange size.
Yeah, they're
but in
quite
a
big.
moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
It's the unknown, man.
This unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist. I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go near that water. Nothing could convince me.
Suddenly, I saw it. With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Holy crap!
Loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
Okay. And it's just not gonna notice me.
Mad then.
I would, cause that'd be a lot of fear and shock at that moment. That scared the crap out of me.
Took ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Yeah, no, my thought would just be like, just run. Just freaking run. I'd be running. There would be no thought process.
I sang a great deal, and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
Yeah, we're just gonna continue on, cause yeah, no, I would lose my mind. I think anyone would be, because it's the unknown.
Recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods.
Okay, the only thing is the noise level, that's a little uneven here. The narration, I believe, should be... It should be over the music and every other sound. It should not be an underlying noise.
Out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital. Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean.
How? When we were just on land? Again, this is where it's... Did we lose our mind because we were in the ocean for so long with just the sun beaming down on us? That's where, again, it's... Did this really happen, or is it fiction because of madness?
In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention.
Again, lost at sea.
Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Yeah, that's just where you get marked for crazy. The journalist Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. In 1915, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticisms to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again for the first time since his teenage years. Dagon, published in 1917, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this example excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments and at the proper time take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. I mean, he's not wrong in that. No country is or ever can be above warfare until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. I mean, not wrong. You don't think countries would keep stuff secret? And just not tell anyone until the right time?
Out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Dagon was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's works, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. And it's all creepy the same. Okay, we're gonna going from a nice desk to...
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
The Necronomicon. August Derleth and the Cthulhu Mythos. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's works after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. A marketer. Lovecraft's attempts to find a job in 1925 were influenced by advice he received from friends. Among others, he started freelancing for a marketing magazine where he would write announcements and commercials. Feel free to judge his copywriting skills for yourself. From an ad for Curtis Woodwork. Curtis Woodwork embraces both the usual structural units and the cleverest contrivances of built-in or permanent furniture, such as bookcases, dressers, buffets, and cupboards. Every model is conceived and created with the purest art, ripest scholarship, and mellowest craftsmanship, which energetic enterprise can command, and made to conform rigidly to the architecture of each particular type of home. The cost considering the quality is amazingly low, and a trademark on the individual pieces prevents any substitution by careless contractors. Source: Lovecraft Studies, Volume 7, Number 1, H.P. Lovecraft. What I do also know is that I'm pretty sure I've read that, like, he died poor. Like, he didn't die rich. Like, he didn't die with money in the bank. Like, no, he was not well known back then. It's only now, within the past 30 to 40 plus years, that now his stuff has just become such cult classics and has gained such a following. Why'd I walk over? Oh, I probably missed info. I was like, why am I over here? I missed notes.
It is at night, especially when the moon's gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine,
In the dreams.
but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
But the big question is, because a lot of these things are always seen and they try to give accounts, but people lose the letters or information, and that's because I'm pretty sure the things of the unknown don't like people of the world to know about them, because then people of the world tend to go looking. And they don't like that.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man-of-war.
That's what I'm saying.
This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed.
Don't do that. You're going to create more fear
Worshipping
for me.
their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Oh, that's just terrifying to think about. But then again, with the technology of today, would there be a chance of survival? That's my question. Back then, maybe not, but of today's technology?
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering
Again,
against it.
is this sanity being lost, or what?
It shall not find me.
Uh-oh. Well, it pushed open the door.
God, that hand!
Well, it found you. Like I said, the things of the unknown.
The window! The window!
Oh, and he throws himself out the window. Like I said, the things of the unknown don't like to be known. There's a reason. Thank you for playing. We hope you enjoyed immersing yourself in our little pool of cosmic horror. We would appreciate it if you took a moment to rate Dagon and check out our other games and DLCs. This was so good. It's so great seeing such an impactful short story turned into such an interactive experience where you get to really visualize everything, and it just adds to the creepy feeling. Reading a story kind of gives you this sense of chills and everything. It gives you this weird sense of fear, but when you actually see it, either in film or games like this, it brings on a whole new feeling, and it did a good job of that, and I clap for you. This was so good. If you enjoyed this and you want to check it out for yourself, link in the description below to go and play this game. If you enjoyed this, make sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought about this. If there's any games you'd like to see me play for future videos or series, you know what to do. Leave a suggestion down below, take them all into consideration. And if you're new around here and you've been enjoying what you're seeing, why not click that subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified of my next video. But I'll see you on the next one. Bye!